Hi, welcome to another episode of Team BSG Viper. We'll do about a 10-minute video here. It's middle of January. We're just getting through a cold spell here. First day able to get back out and do some work on the Viper. So we're working here in the garage, and I'm going to show you what we're up to. We've been doing a lot of work on the engines, trying to get that done. So we're actually working on the intake areas. So let me just show you kind of an idea of what we're doing here, and I'll show you. Okay, let's go look at some photos and move on. Okay, there is the full-scale Viper, and what we're doing is we're working on basically the back half now, and we're pretty much done. We are done with this. We got to do some Bondo work and stuff, but we are focused on this section right here, and these are the big intakes. There's 3 of them on top, 2 on the sides. Look at the model. It's kind of how they look like that. Now from the show, the full prop, if you kind of look at the top one there, it basically looks like the 2 side ones here. It's got a little bit of goes down a little bit on the bottom here. But if you look at the model, it's a little bit different. They actually made it taper in on the sides, so we kind of had to think about it. And once again, we're doing the full scale Viper, so we're going to go with what they did on the full scale. So we'll go over here real quick what we're looking, but there's the massive engines, and you can see they're pretty tall. They're, you know, that section right there is 4 feet. That's the big section. That's the exhaust section. That's about 2 feet, and then that's the section between the big section and the intake, and that's about 1.5 feet. So we got a lot of engine on there, and we had to figure out how to mount it, put it together. So you got 3 big sections right there. There's the gun bay panels, I call them. They can come out. Got a section on the nose there, and then the very front, and then of course you just pan around and we got the cockpit section. Okay, so like I said, we're using reference, we're using that's actually from the new Mobius. That's the rival model. They're a little bit different, but we just got a lot of reference photos. There. That's actually the 1980 Viper, and some people always wonder, did they rebuild the Viper for 1980? It's going to be a no. You don't ever see anybody getting in the cockpit of the 1981. All they did was they redid the canopy and moved the seat a little bit, but you never actually see anybody get into the cockpit of the 1980. Of course, that's the original Battlestar Galactica from Saga of the Star World. So you can see the difference there versus there. But they did get in a mock-up. So what you're looking at is probably the cockpit version, not the full scale. But that was just for screenshots in the field or whatever. So original 1980, and then unfortunately it's gone. So let's go over and show you what we're doing here. Now we're dealing with foam, and to do the intakes, we cut long and hard, and like I said, we're looking at size, space, strength, cost, durability. And the best thing we figured out to do is to build those. They're 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot, tapered off. And I try to make that out of wood, pliable, like we did with the cockpit. That takes some time. So we went over and we got some big old blocks of foam. Now you're thinking, foam, it's, you know, not very durable. There's another block of foam there. So we have 3 blocks of foam for 3 intakes. So once again, you're thinking, well, foam's not very durable. Yeah, it's very light. But like, here's a piece here, And this is like for your standard cooler. This one's actually used for like shipping meat products through the mail, and it's pretty thick, but you can see the difference there, the grains. What we figured out is when I went to the place where we bought it, is there's 3 different styles we could get. It's called 1 pound, 1.5, and 2 pounds, and it's really light. I mean, they're all pretty light. It's the density and how well they're packed, and we went with the 1.5, and that was for, you know, and it's, you know, I mean, I can push on that real good. I have to put my finger in there and kind of put a dent, but you know, it's really hard to break this. I mean, you really have to put some pressure, and what we're building here is pretty thick. So, I mean, you're talking a 3-foot block. So, and what we're going to do is we're going to eventually coat it. We've been doing some research on it, trying to get some information on. This is the first time I've dealt with foam, but the gentleman at the foam company said you can get an acrylic stucco, and you can basically coat this. But you got to have something that's not reactive, that will, when you put it on, it will heat up, chemical reaction. You don't want it melting your foam. So we want a nice solid base, but we don't want to add too much more weight. So as you see here, this is the top intake. I'm going to pan back a little bit here. That's the top intake. It's behind the cockpit, and it looked like that big block back there. So I kind of get the outline on there and shaping it. There's many different ways you can work with foam. Once again, this is something new I'm learning as I go. But you have, one of the tools is it's an electric hot knife. Just pull the trigger and it heats up the metal rod, sort of like a welding iron or a soldering iron. Same principle, just heats up a rod, current goes through the rod, heats it up, gets nice and hot. You see it starts smoking there a little bit. And I'll give you a demonstration. So you leave for about 30 seconds. Come up here, and I'm just going to give you slice through it. Boom. Okay, release it, and boom. So it's called a hot knife. There's different blades for it. I actually made this one just out of a coat hanger because I need different sizes for different things. I've got different shapes. There's different kinds you can get, but that's the one. And then here's the actual blade that comes with it. It's a 10-inch blade. If you want nice straight cuts, you can add that to it. So very nice tool. But to get the shape for the outside, we need some curvature. Now the sides are pretty straight, but then they curve at the top. You can see there, it's pretty much flat on the top, on the top, and then a little bit of curvature, and then straight down, and then it tapers on the bottom. One of the tools I'm using is, I've got a couple. They're actually used for wood, but it's a flush cut reversing back saw, and it's just a nice little blade. Take it out of here real quick. Sorry about that. And it just got little razor teeth on there, and real nice to saw away. One problem about using a hot knife versus a saw is, as you can see, the hot knife, it cuts nice big sections here. Now you're very limited because you have to use it, turn it on, turn it off. The problem you run into is you can actually melt. I mean, you're melting the foam, but if you do it too much, then you get these divots. So you have to be careful. And then I have another one. It's actually like a big handsaw that you use for cutting wood. And it's great for big sections because I can do nice long straight cuts with this instead of using the hot knife. Hot knife is good for, as you can see, I got to get in here and I got to carve out the inside of the intake here. So I'm going back about a foot, and the bottom is about where we want to go. So you have to be careful, and you just have to cut away, sort of like doing a sculpture, any kind of sculpture. You don't want to get too close to the line where I'm going to be at, so just taking time, and eventually that is going to look like that or that. And you're probably thinking, okay, you got to do the engine intake with the fan blades. No, we're not doing that. We're going with the prop, the 1:1 scale. It didn't have it. The models do have it in theirs, but the 1:1 scale just had a black panel on the inside. So so we're going to go down to about 1 inch, which is about that deep. We're going to smooth out the inside. And what I'm using for the outside, because it gets pretty, you know, it gets pretty ragged using the saw. So we actually use, it's drywall sandpaper. And what it does, it just basically, it's got the little grates here, and it just takes that little, these little grates here, and it sands down the foam. Does a real good job. Nice and smooth. If I have to, I'll go back, but real nice smooth surface here. And like I said, this is huge. His first time for doing this, and it's taken some time to get done, but as you can see, it's coming along. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on the cockpit, and you'll get an idea of actually how this is going to look. So I'm going to put the phone, put the camera down for a minute. You're going to be staring at nothing for a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and just put it down right here. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to put the and you get surprised. This piece of foam does have a little bit of weight to it. Okay, I'm back. Okay, that's kind of noisy and squeaky. But if we pan back a little bit, voila, movie magic. So, and it might need a little more work, I mean, to get it just right. But it's about a ½ foot back on top of the cockpit section here. But you get an idea. We'll go over here a little bit if we can. But there you go. I mean, it's getting there. This was probably one of the pieces of the Viper that really boggled me. Because in the other portion, the other part was this section here. It was the very front of the nose. Getting that done right. So this one was, as I'm building the engines, I'm building the nose, in my mind I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to do this? You know, there was many different ways I thought about doing it, and it just didn't seem right. And finally, watching some YouTube videos and stuff, and a lot of cosplayers use foam, different types of foam. We found a place that had this little big box of it, so we'll come back a little bit here. But as you can see, that really looks like an intake. And then we'll have room, well, when the canopy comes up, still got to go a little back inside there, as you can see. But We'll be able to raise the canopy so you guys can get in there. Now that I move that out of the way, you get a better idea how big that block is. So that is 36 inches or 3 feet by 36 inches by 36 inches. So that's a lot of foam, and I've already had a couple bags of just pieces, just big pieces of foam that these have been taken off with the hot knife because you can see it's big chunks. But with the knives, it actually makes it like a powdery form, like snow. So it gets all over the place. I mean, you can see my jacket here I was working on. So you got to definitely do this outside. But just shaving it with the sandpaper really makes it like snow. Makes a mess. Just sticks to everything. But there we go. I mean, you see it's got a little divot right there. I mean, fill that in, sand it down. But it's pretty smooth. And that's, you know, using a knife on there. And once we put the acrylic stucco on there, we'll be able to make that a nice hard finish, and we'll be able to sand that down. So kind of get an idea. Just got some work to do. Like I said, first day was actually, especially living here in Texas, it was below freezing here, which we do that every once in a while, but it actually got snow, and it stayed that way for about 3 or 4 days. So we are back to working, get the Viper going. Probably next week I'll be starting to work on these. These will be the side engines, side intakes. What's different about those ones versus the top one, as you can see, the top one, it's flat on the bottom, round on top, but it's got a cut in the bottom, where these side engines, they're the same all the way around. So we've got to make it the same. Okay, so that is going to be about it for our demonstration for today on what we're doing. Haven't gave you a video for a while, but hopefully that gives you an idea of how far along we're coming along. And like I said, next we're going to do the intakes, and then we're going to start on the wings and the vertical fin. Mr. George is working on the lasers, and hopefully by next month we'll have a complete Viper. We got to do the landing gear also. So I'm going to swing around real quick. I'm going to give a send off here. Like I said, keep watching. We'll try to get some more pictures here. We were busy with the holidays and the cold weather and stuff like that, so kind of slowed us down a little bit. So I will get with you guys later. And we're getting ready for Comicpalooza. That's coming up once again the end of May. And we'll look forward to seeing you there. Okay, Karl from Team BSG Viper signing off. Have a good night.